Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the one and the only, Rum Boys Fantasy Network. It's your boy, Rum Boys Robbie, aka Robbie J, aka the Admiral. First off, thank you guys for joining us today. The bar is always open here on Business and Brews. We are live here in Rum Boys Studios from the brew capital of the world, Colorado, aka Colorado. Make sure that you guys go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you have not already. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't be subscribed to this channel, right? Right. Other than that, there's a gray button that looks like this. Make sure you go ahead and turn that gray button blue. All right. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up and like this piece of content if you have not already. After you do that, share this content on all of your social media. If you tell a friend to tell a friend, well, then guess what? We can just keep running this over and over and just keep doing it again. Aside from that, dive off into the live chat. We're excited for you guys to sit down with us and discuss with us. This is Business and Brews. Ladies and gentlemen, Business and Brews, where we bring you guys behind the scenes access to some of the industry's greatest personalities, letting you know the ins and outs of different jobs and different occupations that you can participate in and you can get involved in throughout the industry. Before I get into that, I want to remind everyone to go ahead and download the SportsMe app. Go ahead and download the SportsMe app. There will be an invitation link via Streamlabs. They'll be dropped routinely throughout the live stream. So make sure you guys go ahead, take advantage of that. Take advantage of that exclusive invite. Hop on the SportsMe app. Quick 30-second click content, almost like a TikTok, but except it's back and forth and you can debate. You can let your opinions and your sports takes be heard. Following that, I would like to remind all of you to download the Monkey Knife Fight app. monkeyknifefight.com. See if you can beat the monkey in a monkey knife fight. Daily fantasy sports action. Get ready for your NBA finals. Home run derby is in full swing. Batter up for all of your MLB props. And I know that you guys are patiently waiting for the NFL to get underway. We're going to be giving you guys covered with daily fantasy action for that as well. From everything from rapid fire, touchdown dance, to a whole hell of a lot more over on monkeyknifefight.com and the Monkey Knife Fight app. So be sure to go ahead and download that on both iOS and Android. All of our apps are on both iOS and Android. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our special guest. I apologize. I had to put y'all through paying the bills. It is what it is, you dig? Introducing. She has wrote for the New York Post / New York Times. She is currently a viral sensation on TikTok, Instagram, and she is killing it on the Twitter, just whooping some troll ass. Also, you can catch all of her work on the Action Network. Ladies and gentlemen, writer for the Action Network, Samantha Previte. What's going on, Sam?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. That was an amazing intro, by the way.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. We try to give everybody that same energy. It's a vibe over here. Before we dive into the first question, I know that you're going to be chilling with friends later, so you don't have to drink on this podcast, but I just want to state, cheers to me, cheers to you. Oh, there we go. See, she's like, oh, no, I know what I'm doing.
Cheers. I have a local Colorado beer from Fort Collins. So
there we go. Hey, all the brown boys and girls want to do dilly. We appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. I feel like that first sip, when I was stationed overseas, the Swiss, they break open their business meetings with just a sip. They usually do a shot. They do a shot, and then it's 15 minutes of just conversational breaking open the ice. I feel like that first sip that we do here on the Rum Boys Fantasy Network, it's just so iconic and it helps everyone just be loose, Like, do you feel a little bit better?
Already feel better. One sip into my 4.5 ABV beer.
There we go. Hell yes. So, Sam, first question that I want to ask, I thank you in advance for being here. I know I've thanked you through numerous posts on every single social media throughout our promotions, but I want to thank you again. And I have to know, what inspired you to really pursue getting into fantasy football? And at what moment did you decide that this is what you wanted as a career path?
Sure. It has been a crazy journey, to be honest. I started liking football probably in 2015 and started doing fantasy then. So it's a very short journey, to be honest. Like I don't have this cool background where I remember the, 2000 Packers or anything like that. It's very, very recent. My path into it is, I guess, kind of common for a lot of women that get into fantasy football. I started following it because my boyfriend at the time that I was living with was doing it. And I thought, like, not that I wanted to be the exact same person or anything, but I thought, hey, this matters to you and it seems interesting. So like, and then I had the opportunity to join a work league. I actually made a TikTok about this, how that was like the gateway drug, of course. And yeah, I had the opportunity to join a work league and I said, hey, like this seems cool and you're really into it. And like, would you help me do it if I join my work league? And he was like, I will help you, but I will not set your lineups and I will do the work for you. So like, if you have questions, yes, of course. But like, you have to do research. And I was like, I have no idea where to start. So he gave me 3 podcasts a day that I had to listen to. I'm not even kidding. Like it was like homework that I had to do every single day. And I just like put them on while I was working. And it was like the CBS podcast, the ESPN podcast, and the 444 one. And I just like let them run. And it was just funny because I had no concept of football or really anything. I just understood kind of the numbers on the back end and would just kind of absorb it. And I just remember like one day it clicking and we were just like washing dishes. And I remember saying something like, oh, I'm like not concerned about Jordan Matthews this week because I don't think Xavier Rhodes will like shadow him in the slot or something like really like so weird. And he was like, do you have any idea what you said? And I was like, absolutely not. But like, I'm getting it in like a sponge. So
no, hey, I can honestly relate with that because I was that boyfriend that and I hate myself for it, that put my ex on the fantasy football. So I can relate because like the first time she had said something, I was like, what'd you say? What? Oh shit. So I can 100% relate. I mean, and then it's amazing how it goes from that to now. Like you went to a writer. I don't think that I feel like that is so unique in the essence that you never know what you're passionate about until you kind of just stumble into it.
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I really think I would ever have done. I liked sports growing up, but I didn't like football. My parents are not sports fans, so I didn't grow up with that culture or anything. And like, obviously, women are just less likely to go into it based on their backgrounds and stuff. So I don't think that I would have really ever gone into it because, like, if it were not for that sort of sequence of events that led me to that point. We broke up. I moved to New York and I actually like went through this whole crisis where I didn't know if it was just like I only liked it because I was with him and had this whole like, realization that actually I totally want to keep going. I went to a live taping of the ESPN podcast and that like Matthew Berry changed my life. From that, he literally like took me out with all of his friends and we had an amazing night. We went to like a speakeasy after the taping, which was so much fun. So yeah, like a lot of like really random experiences. And then I worked in media. My first job in New York was at the New York Times, and I was working business side and purely business side. And I got another job at the Post after that, like 1 year in, and that was also purely business side. But because I was very into sports, I made friends with people on the sports desk and we just send like memes and rumors back and forth. Like, oh, did you see like what Pat McAfee said? Or like something about, I don't know, something crazy. And one day it was just very, very random that I just said to them, like, I wish I could do your job. Like, that's my dream job. And he was like, I had no idea you were interested in writing. Like, and I was like, I have no background, so I don't know. And he was like, well, would you like to try? And that's really how it came about. It was supposed to be a 1 week sort of trial session where like maybe a couple week trial session where I was just going to write like a preview in the preseason to see how it goes. And then like 600 articles later, the Action Network kind of started scouting me and that's kind of how things escalated. And I never thought that it was going to be a full-time position until really I started getting, I guess, like recognized from social media. I was writing all these articles, which obviously was super important to my journey. It gives you legitimacy and gives you credibility and everything like that. And obviously so lucky that my first gig was at the New York Post. That's not the normal path that people take.
No.
And I totally recognize that. But then I was getting reads, whatever, but not getting really noticed for a whole season. And just during quarantine, we're all bored out of our minds, stuck inside. I started making these stupid videos and TikToks and stuff. And I went from 500 followers in Twitter in August to like 9,000 today, which is not a huge growth, but I also have a very ardent and passionate Twitter base. They just are like,
That is a huge growth. That is a huge growth. Come on. You and I both know that. Like, we both know that is big time. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I'm really, really happy with it. So, and I love everyone on Twitter. It's like 90% of my interactions on social media are really, really great. And I just love how engaged everyone is. And it really does feel like we're like a community, of course. I know you totally understand how the whole community thing feels. So it's been really, really great. And that's kind of been my path into this weird, nerdy world.
And hell, you conquered that path. As we segue into the next question, I just want to add, one thing that I've kind of started to find as a common denominator with everyone that I've began to interview on this particular show here. We're on anywhere between 5 to 7 days throughout the week here on the Rum Boys Fantasy Network. And what I've learned through Business and Brews is that everyone has a story of, and it usually has this one similarity of, none of us knew that when we started any path in which we took, whether it's the producers that I've interviewed, the writers, or people like myself, the podcasters, none of us have predicted that we were going to end up where we were. I'm sure if this interview were to happen, months and months ago while we were still in the quarantine, if I were to ask you, where do you think you're going to land? Are you going to land with the Action Network? You're probably sitting back like, you're funny. And same thing with me, if someone were to ask, I just saw in the comment section, Aiden, he was like, yo, you killed that the other day with NFL fantasy. Thank you. I didn't know that was going to happen. So I'm learning that we're all being just very confident in letting the universe take on its own form for our journeys. And we're just kind of following and just like, we're not pushing against anything. We're just letting it happen. And that's what I'm finding very beautiful and in common. I've noticed through following you on not one, but just various social media platforms, and your personality, you could see different pieces of your personality through each, where there's the same Samantha, but then there's also, on TikTok, you get that funny, quirky side, on Twitter, you may get that more strong, like, like I'm a bite back, Sam, so on and so forth. How did you hone that personality, just your personality, and accepting the kind of who you are, and becoming confident enough that putting all these different types of content out there, like, and knowing that the world was just going to enjoy it? Or did you know that was going to happen?
No, there's a lot of cliche things coming in, but I'm going to start with saying that it was a lot trial by error. The TikTok literally started, I had the idea, and I was at Taco Tuesday in the West Village with one of my best friends, and we're having margs, and I was like, hey, what do you think about like if I tried all these TikTok memes but did them for fantasy football? And she doesn't know anything about fantasy football, to be clear. Right. And she was just like, yeah, why not? And I was like, sweet, let's do it. Send it. Like, let's do it. And I had no idea. My first TikToks are so janky. And it was also off season. You didn't even know if the season was going to happen. So it was very, very trial and error. But in terms of like, I guess my personality and kind of figuring out what works, this is going to sound super, I guess, corny, but it really is authentically me. And maybe on certain platforms, it's highlighting different aspects of me. And of course, like, I never thought that I would be the type of personality that people would really even like to follow. Like I never associated myself with that. My previous jobs were not front facing or anything like that. So I had no reason to think that people would like me on Twitter or like me on TikTok or anything like that. But yeah, it turns out that people really like authenticity and people can see it, I think. I hope people can see that like it's very raw and me, and they appreciate that more than people who really, really try to create a set brand that's so perfect and curated. That's what I think a lot of people ask. They ask me about this all the time, and they say like, how did you grow your brand? And how did you like do this? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like literally just completely uncensored me. And yeah, I mean, like I tell you guys about like the rice cakes that I buy and the Cholula that I get on my white pants. And like, I don't know why you guys care, but it's fun. And I think in a space that is so, I hate the word saturated, but it's busy and there are a lot of people in it, that, you know, being a personality and having personality in general plays such a bigger role. So I guess that's kind of where I arrived at my brand. And yeah, I mean, it's a lame answer to be like, it's just me, but it is.
No, I mean, I deal with that. I deal with that exact same thing, because a lot of time I get asked, you know, oh, well, how did you land this opportunity, or, you know, this interview, or whatever the case. I was like, honestly, like, I was just being myself, you know, either you know, in our case, you know, I had reached out to you. I reached out, like, I was like, no, like, I need to get this interview. Like, I want to interview you. Your story needs to be told. You know, but then in a lot of other scenarios and a lot of other bigger scenarios, whether it be, you know, me work with the SportsMe app, previously when I signed up with Sportscaster, the rookie interviews, a lot of those opportunities just kind of came to me, and fell in my lap. I won't necessarily like fell in my lap, because like, you're right. I had to be myself, and I had to be genuinely just unfiltered Robbie. But I think the answer that people, when I was giving that answer of like, dude, I was just being myself. Like, what are you talking about, bro? You know, like, you're just like giving that bland answer. I think the answer that I found, what they were really looking for, was in order to be myself, I had to learn to just love myself. And that's what made it
really
easier.
Good perspective.
Yeah, you know, because like there's a difference between like knowing who you are, but just like really, really loving yourself. Like once you love yourself, like it's easy to go out there and be vulnerable. You know, like you say, like it's easy for you to talk about, you know, like the rice cakes, or, you know, whatever, you know, like your white pants or whatever. Like it's easy for me to talk about riding down to Denver with my wife, going to hit up some brewery, you know, and like people are like, oh, here's 30 likes. I'm like, why'd you give 30 likes to that?
Right. And then you put out, you know, a 4,000 word article or whatever it is. You try so hard and you get like 5 likes. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. But no, I mean, I love it's not frustrating in any way. To be honest, I love it because I like that people seem to like me for me. And that's really worked out. And I want to also say that I 100% acknowledge that, yes, my path has been weird. And yes, that's the result of a lot of privilege and a lot of luck that's happened in the right way. Did I work hard to get here? Of course I did. And of course, there are tons of other people working hard, but a lot of people gave me a lot of things along the way. And it's been really, really nice. So yeah, I mean, Action reached out to me, and that's how I got this job. And I didn't necessarily have to like do a ton of applying or anything like that, which was super nice. And then, yeah, my editor that just gave me the chance at the Post, that was just really luck. And I hope in the future to pay it forward, you know, to other voices in the industry.
Really quick, just to connect writers here. Raj, he is actually one of our junior writers here at the Run Boys Fantasy Network. He's like 2,700 word article, and I got 600 views. He's laughing. He's like, fuck, did all this work? And like, only 600 of you only clicked it. Like, shit.
Totally. I mean, I would like to say that sometimes I know strategies, but at the same time, like, you can think like a tweet is fire and get 0 likes. Like, I can like think about it, and then like one day right before I was going skiing, I literally just tweeted something about David Johnson. Like, dudes will literally draft David Johnson 5 years in a row.
I remember that.
And I literally was like doing that over oatmeal, like just laughed for the day. And that tweet got like 2,000 likes. And I was like,
yeah, I was one of them. I was like, I'm adding every person I've ever told this in the past. You know,
amazing.
Hey, I hope really quick. Speaking of content like that, where the numbers, where you think that it's gonna be fire, but it's not. Yeah, my TikTok that I did yesterday, that shit's cringeworthy. I don't know why. I chose to do
I love that. Like sometimes when you like post something and then you're like, wait, this was so cringe. Like, why did I do that?
Bad. I was like standing up on top of my chair and I was like fucking dancing and shit. I was like, why am I out here twerking for damn likes? This is where I'm at this point in my career. You said something. You mentioned saturation during the previous topic. So I'm just going to switch the show sheet around a little bit. Okay. I hope that doesn't frustrate
totally.
you.
I love it.
Awesome. So when you were on Real Deal Fantasy HQ's podcast, what was it, about like 2 weeks ago, I believe. You were
like that,
you were featured on the Women in Sports series, and you had a very unique response in regards to saturation in the industry. Could you maybe kind of just re-echo your thoughts in regards to, and re-echo that sentiment? Look, I'll be transparent as fuck. I don't care. I am Jamaican, Dominican, and Italian. I'm this mixed dude from Southeast DC. Like, we've constantly
like
visited
like area.
No, like Berry Farms.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like very bad area. Yeah.
No,
like,
I lived in DC briefly, so
yeah. When you said Anacostia, I was like, wow, you know that area. But no, I bring it up to it because it's like, I'll kind of just defer to you. Like, you never know what people are looking for or what people may think is cool. So I'll just shit.
I think that when people talk about saturation, they're not necessarily wrong. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you're a jerk or whatever. But I think there's so much more nuance to it. If you are literally thinking about the industry as it is now, and you want to do exactly what someone else is doing, then of course that's going to feel saturated. But I think it's very, very narrow-minded to only consider what's out there right now. And, not that I think that I'm like the only person doing fantasy football TikTok, but that has been a huge driver of my career. Not that I have all these followers or anything on TikTok necessarily. It's not like one platform I'm really, really popular on. But that gave me so much of a boost, I would say, in terms of like hireability. And that's not everyone's end goal for sure. But just like the creativity and stuff showed action that I'm willing to think outside the box. I'm willing to be a total ass on camera and like have this weird, quirky personality. And yeah, so you have to be willing to think about things that are just not being done right now. And like, that sounds really intimidating, but it's not. Because a lot of these people that are putting out this content, like we all write a start sit, we all like think about waiver wire, like all of that stuff. But how can you repackage it into a way that's palatable to a different audience? And, I don't reach everyone and I don't resonate with everyone, and that's fine. Like there are so many people that I think I do resonate with, and you can't just think about like making everyone happy. You really have to just like find your niche and think about like, I said this on the podcast that you were referencing about the women in sports, that it's kind of like when we talk about the amount of brain space that we use as being like 10% of our brains. And then there's this whole like 90% that's unlocked or whatever, and it's, to unlock. And I feel like that's kind of like the industry in fantasy football that, if you want to do that 10% that everyone's doing right now, then sure, it's going to come off as saturated. But also anyone that says that, I think it's really discouraging to young talent. And I think, to me, it rubs me the wrong way if someone's like, this space is so saturated. And it's like, well, then you're just not thinking like...
You're not thinking outside the box.
You're not thinking outside of the box. And honestly, like bigger than that, whether or not you're getting the views, whether or not you're doing this, that's not always everyone's end goal. No. Like someone really, if you really enjoy doing what you're doing, like that should be enough, to be honest.
Exactly. None of the extra shit should matter.
Right. And so, I think people really get fixated on views and things like that. And yes, of course, like in some contexts they're important, but in the end, you have to be happy with what you're doing and like just be proud of yourself and love yourself and all of that.
Yeah, I was about to say it goes back to what we were saying. Like you gotta love like when you love yourself, like it doesn't matter what a troll says. It doesn't matter, what your views look like you're not caring about metrics. Like, do you look at them, maybe, you think to yourself, how do I retool? How do I reverse engineer myself, or how do I reverse engineer my followers, to maybe, mess with what I'm saying a little bit differently. Maybe you may have those thought processes, and that's a lot more healthier. Didn't you say at the beginning, at the beginning you said your journey was really originally in business, right?
Mm-hmm. I worked so my degree is in math and biology. I was supposed to be a doctor, so I'm very sorry to my parents. But I came out of school knowing no idea what I wanted to do. I ended up going to politics, which is why I lived in DC. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I worked in analytics for 7 years, but I always knew it was not my passion. Really, I thought about it and I was like, I don't even have a 2-year runway in here. Like I can't imagine myself doing this in 2 years. So I was, of course, thinking about what I could do to pivot. And this fantasy stuff was always kind of like, I did it all on my own time. That's one thing that people don't also acknowledge is that even though I was employed by the New York Post, my full-time job, what they paid me for was being the director of analytics. All 640 articles that I wrote were unpaid. and all of the podcasts that I was doing, everything was unpaid. And that is really, really, I think, important to remember that like I did all of that just because I really, really wanted to. And in the end, if you're waking up at 4 a.m. to grind that out, you really love it. And It's icing on top of the cake that it obviously gets to be my job, but I would still be grinding out articles no matter what. So yeah, I think it comes down to passion, loving yourself, and just kind of finding out what works.
Exactly. No, I bring that up because I noticed this with a lot of business majors and a lot of folks that work in business. I got my degree in business marketing. Literally, remind you, while fucking deployed in a bunker in Afghanistan.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
No worries. No, I appreciate it. No, thank you. Thank you for paving a way in this damn industry. What am I talking about? Like, come on. But no, so while studying and while learning, I always adapted a lot of my business marketing lessons to early hip hop. So I grew up on, I was born in 91. Look, all right, yes, I'll be 30 June 14th. The dirty 30 is coming. It's happening. It's a thing, and I'm dealing with it. I'm coping with it my own way, right?
I was born in 92, so don't
exactly. So you feel me. You feel me. So I bring this up because I always equate back to like that early music that we grew up on, especially like when you and I were in those high school days. The 50 Cents and stuff like that, the Jay-Z's, because they were entrepreneurs, right? Like they had took outside. They were the first guys to kind of really go outside of music and be like, we're gonna make shoes. We're gonna do
totally. They were the first people that were brands.
Yeah,
that was the first concept of it. And maybe we didn't say that they were a brand. Like we really, that was kind of the first time that we acknowledged that people were much bigger than just their craft.
Exactly. And I noticed that especially with business and marketing gurus like yourself and mine, well, gurus, that's way fucking strong of a word, but majors like yourself and myself, I noticed that we're never afraid to try anything new. We're always willing to, did 50 Cent know that vitamin water was going to blow up the way that it did? No, but he said, here's $5 million, and then that $5 million became 50 million,
Totally.
It's
all about those like type 1 versus type 2 decisions, thinking about what's reversible in your life. It's pretty low risk for me to spend an extra few hours like here and there to work on this fantasy football thing. And, obviously it grew into a much larger time commitment. But to me, like that just seemed like something that I wanted to see how do you know if you're good at something if you don't try?
Exactly. Really quick. Some of the chat, they're like, yo, 100 articles, no pay. Fuck that. Nick says, writing all those articles with no money, I'd be like, screw that. And I got to do this in Bogart's voice. Give me money.
I'll say, I was in a very nice situation, obviously, where I had this full-time job and I don't have a family. I don't have like a lot of other like commitments. So that's obviously a privilege that I was able to throw myself into doing that. Do I think that everyone should be unpaid for their work? Like, no, of course not. But I thought that it was also an incredible opportunity to work for the New York Post. And I'm not ever going to take that for granted.
I'm going to say it like this. Soulja Boy, Wiz Khalifa, Master P, all these great artists that a lot of you guys have listened to, some of your favorite rock bands, some of your favorite pop artists, did shows, gave away their mixtapes out the back of their trunks, sold merch.
It's a hustle, man.
For free. So don't not doing free work to get you somewhere. Hey, I have done free work to get me to play. I didn't get paid to be on NFL Network 2 days ago on NFL Fantasy. They said, "Do you want this?" I was like, "Yeah, you damn right I do."
Exactly. Like, I was also getting crazy mentorship. Like, I didn't have a writing background. So the fact that, yes, they were like using my articles and getting ad revenue from them, of course, but they were also helping me as a, like, go from literally zero. I had not written. So go from zero to getting a full-time offer. So maybe in a way I was like, this is not the right time for me to ask. I think really the end goal for me was possibly to get this offer. And then I did get this offer. So it kind of all sort of worked out. But yeah, and like, don't ever think that you're above anything. Like, there are a lot of people that say, like, I would never do XYZ. And in this industry, hustle is so important. And I hate to be like, oh yeah, like the bearer of bad news, that there's a lot of free work, but there's a lot of free work
that you're gonna have to do. Like, and honestly, I appreciate the reciprocity of getting to know, people like yourself, getting to know the Marcus Grants, getting to know Keith Cummings, and all these different people in the industry, because you guys give me feedback on my fantasy takes and my fantasy analysis, or what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. But then you guys also allow me within that feedback to be myself. So like, wholeheartedly, I appreciate that free shit, because that's worth more than any type of money that anyone can ever pay me. So I mean, that's just where I'm at. We're almost through. I know you got plans and everything.
Yeah.
I have noticed though that you deal with a lot of bullshit on Twitter. Like, I'm gonna just call it what it is. It's bullshit, right? Day in and day out. All right. In Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everything aside, like, and I'm sorry to bring some of this up, and make you have to relive it. But I mean, how do you overcome that on the day to day? I mean, not just as a woman, but I mean, as a minority in this industry. I mentioned backstage before the interview, you're out here just wrestling lines, just like shut up, wow, and just slamming. You're not even hitting them. You're just grabbing them by the mane and just like, wow. I mean, how do you like what keeps you going, and how do you deal with that?
It's very difficult. It's a day-to-day fight that's always different. I would say too, I think maybe a couple months ago, I would have said to you, like, it's really not that big of a deal. I think I just deal with the amount that everyone else deals with. And of course there's going to be detractors, and I honestly just made fun of the detractors, and just, that was kind of my way. That was my way of coping with it. Like, I would just, I don't know, quote tweet them and like say something stupid or make a video about it or something. I did encounter something probably a lot worse, like a situation with, like, I don't know if you were aware with like the Canada situation. Okay. Well, that spiraled into something that was way out of control for me and not something that I had dealt with before. Barstool was really responsible for dousing a lot of gasoline on that fire.
Yeah.
And it just,
me and them don't get along, just so you know.
I
they
mean,
don't like me.
I'm not even going to go there with them, but it certainly was an event that was totally, totally new to me. And I think at first I was handling it well, and it just got to the point that it was like so overwhelming, and I just had a full breakdown crying. But I was so lucky that I had a really great support system around me, and so many people reached out and they were like, oh my God, like, please don't leave social media. Like,
I was so scared. Because from my personal standpoint, like, when I deal with that, like, I deal with it a lot. Like, people are always like, like I said earlier, like, how the fuck did you get that interview? I'm gonna get questions about how I'm interviewing you now. Like, it's gonna happen. I'm ready for it. Like, I'm just like locked in. but I mean, with that being said and with that being stated, it's also a pleasure to deal with that type of hatred, because you know what, at that point, there's something so fucking insecure within yourself that you're upset at what I'm doing and where I'm going, that it's got you feeling some type of way. Mm-hmm. You just want attention right now. I'm not going to give it to you. You know what I'm saying? So like.
Totally. And I think I want to say that like 90% of my interactions on social media are very positive. And I want to say the fantasy community is awesome. And I think that some people get a little pissed that like I do highlight a lot of the bad stuff, because they're like, really, like the majority of us are fine. And I'm like, yes, most people are non-problematic. But I also think it's important to bring to light certain situations that are not right, because some people in their heads, like if there was this situation where someone was inappropriate with another female in this industry over DM, and I immediately saw people say things like, oh, well, this person's a great guy, and like I'm sure it was just like
that set me off. Yeah.
I stayed quiet about it for a couple days, and then I was like, you know what? Like, no, because I'm not going to let people say that this was a one-time thing, because it's never a one-time thing. So it's important to call out these problematic instances where you have with interactions where you have with people. So yes, there's always this level, there's this tier of like, I'm female, so there are a lot of people that are not ever going to listen to me because I'm a woman. And I mean, it's fine, but it's not fine. You know what I mean? Like there are people that you're just never going to win over, and that's whatever. Like if you think you're coming in this industry, even if you're a cis white male, like no one's going to always like you. But so, I'm working from a deficit being a woman. I'm working from another deficit being an Asian woman, and probably a mouthy Asian woman at that. So, but just like, I understand it, and I try my best to not take it personally. When someone's just attacking me for things that I can't control, I mean, a lot of times I was not using the mute or block button a lot before, and I gotta say, whatever mechanism it is that you need to use, if it's that, you should use that. And I started using it a lot more, and it has been way better to just not hear things that upset me.
No, I agree. I've gotten really good. I want to shout out Troy King, because Troy, he was like,
I love him.
Yeah, he was like, Robbie, he was like, you gotta stop. He's like, you gotta stop going in. So they have this phrase, Troy and LQ have this phrase. Whenever I start going in on somebody, they're like, put the gun down, because I'll do it, because I'm like, yo, I have the time. Like if this is what you really want, I will really put you in your place. You see it all the time when people come at you, and I'm like, what do you want this? Like did your mother not raise you right?
There is an element of picking your battles too, because sometimes if it's just gonna rile you up more, and that doesn't serve you, and you don't need the mental like
that comment. She's like, if I don't listen, my mama gonna beat my ass. So I'm listening. So funny. But I say that all the time though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of situations, it's just not even worth it. And one thing I want to say is that a lot of people do tell me, and have told me from the very beginning, don't listen to the haters. That is so much easier said than done when it's in the moment. But at the same time, I think it's important to pick your battles. I think there are situations where I'm going to come out guns a-blazing, and I will body you and put you into the body bag. Like,
yes, you do. And you do it in such a beautiful fashion where you're like, you know what? Which body bag do you want? You want Gucci? You want Louis? I got Fendi right over here. I love it. But
then other times it's like, you know what? Like, if you just say like something really racist or sexist, like sometimes it's just better to just mute. So it's a combination of different sort of strategies, and it's trial and error, like anything else, to figure out what works for you.
Hey, we joked on past relationships earlier. It's the same thing. Pick and choose your battles.
Totally. Very, very important advice.
Look, Samantha, I finally have one question. Well, the final question will be, where can people find you? But that's not so much as a question, as a sign off. Finally, Samantha, once again, thank you for being a role model for everybody. I mean, I don't care if, I'm a girl dad. I'm a single girl dad. So I hope that, as my daughter grows older and, she's able to walk and speak and everything, she looks at females like you, because eventually she's going to take over this industry. Like, I'm going to sign it over or take over this company. I'm going to sign it over and be like, I'm old. I can't do this no more. But with that being said, what's up next for you? What are your future goals? And how does it feel to kind of take on that persona, knowing that you are that? At some point, you have to acknowledge to yourself that you are that inspiration. Like, you have to know that.
That is so, so kind. Like, I never thought that I would be a role model or inspiration in any way. So it's just amazing to kind of be in this situation. And I really, really hope that I can set a good example and kind of show women. I mean, it's so important. It's so important to see people that are like you in this industry. People it's not stated enough how important it is to have more diverse voices, because more diverse voices will beget more diverse voices. Like, that's how it works. It has to start with some people. And I'm certainly not the first. I mean, Hazel May on Nesson, I hated the Red Sox growing up, but I used to watch it just because she was an Asian woman. And just being able to see that, to me, was like, wow, like, someone that looks like her can do this. Like, why? Maybe I could do it. Yeah. And that's so important. Totally. So next for me, I mean, I don't know that so technically I'm on with an Action for the next 2 years, which was just acquired by Better Collective, which is great. So I will be with them for at least the next 2 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Trying a lot of different things. I mean, I've really done the majority of my work in writing, which is great. That is not something that I thought I would really like. I thought that writing was going to be a vehicle for me to do podcasts and videos and other things like that. And I just needed that kind of like extra step of legitimacy. And in the end, I actually really like writing. So that's been a really, really refreshing thing for me. So I will be continuing doing a lot of writing, but I will also be doing on-camera stuff moving forward once the season starts up. I've already done a couple of video hits and stuff for Action, and hopefully picking up a little more podcasting. So yeah, I mean, my future lies with Action for now, and there's going to just be me, but a lot more of me on different types of channels. So I'm really excited to get to try all those things and, see if I'm not good at things. I don't know, like they had no reason to really think that I would be great at some on-camera things. And I'm just really excited that they're like taking the chance on me. And it's nice. I mean, it feels kind of low stakes in a way. It's just because they're such a great company, and I feel super supportive. Yeah. Super supported. And like, it's a really nice environment for me right now. Like, it's totally the perfect landing spot. So I'm so happy that I'm there right now.
That's awesome, because for a lot of people, especially when they come into this, it's hard for them to find a place that they can call home. And you found one of the best in the industry. So that's awesome. I look forward to more articles. I look forward to more content on social media. I look forward to seeing those on camera appearances, because for me, podcasting led into me now starting to write. And now I'm starting to do it a little
the other way around.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, so it's the other way around. So to finally been able to interview you today, and just now continue to be able to follow your career, both as a friend and as a colleague, it's a pleasure for myself, and I just can't wait for what's next for you. And again, thank you for your time. You're gonna keep hearing it until we get off. When we get off, you're probably gonna be like, yes, he doesn't have to retweet no more promotion. We're good.
No. This has been so much fun. I will say a couple things about just recapping the advice that I would give anyone trying to get into this industry. We talked about being original and finding your voice and loving yourself. So important. Understanding your audience, understanding that I'm going to appeal to different people, and that's fine. Like, just embrace that, lean into it, lean into that brand. Understanding the business model too behind whatever medium that you want to pursue is ultra important. Some people go into this and they're like, I just want to make money doing this. And I'm like, well, do you understand the different levers of that go into, and obviously you're business minded, I'm business minded, so maybe that comes a little easier and we didn't really have to like necessarily seek that out. But there are some people that just maybe that's not their thought process, and that's super, super important. So understanding the business model, developing skills that will make you attractive in this space. Like I didn't go to journalism school, and even if I did, most of the things like I would have just learned on the job, and or like kind of by trial and error is my point. Like you doing video type stuff, like I don't know of any courses that necessarily would have taught you exactly how you
There was nothing I could have done.
Right,
I did this all on my own.
So you got to go out there and find those skills, like make a list, find the skills that you want to do and find a way to learn them. And that is super, super important. And then, just like strive for excellence, but like don't expect perfection. Don't be mad that like this tweet didn't do as well as you wanted. Just, it's one of those things that's like, well, I just like, you're just constantly learning. It's like your machine learning type thing where like you're just taking that as feedback and learning that maybe if I just tweaked this or I did this at a different time, and just have fun with it. If it's literally becoming a point of like, it's stressing me out that this didn't get enough likes or this didn't get enough views, you really need to like reevaluate your mentality about this.
I said this was going to be the best motherfucking interview that I have done in the
You're so funny. Oh yeah, and stay humble. Like that's the big thing. No one's gonna like you in this space if you're just coming out here. I think sometimes like those really, really hot takey type people that can work in the short term, and like people that get into confrontations and stuff on social media, like that can work in the short term, but it's not going to work in the long term. Be humble, like be willing to be wrong, be willing to listen to other people. And you're never bigger than anyone else. Just remember that.
And in the words of the great Larry Bird, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Business and Brews here on the Rum Boys Fantasy Network. Samantha, where can our audience find you?
They can find me mostly on Twitter. I am at Samantha NFL. Very easy to remember there. I am super, super active there. If you are hoping that it's like a stick to sports account, it's not. It's not. It's not at all. It's not like me coming out saying all these political things. It's just like literally whatever's in my mind at the time. It's
like following me.
Stream of consciousness, like whatever. But that's just who I am. And that's where you can find me on Twitter. I am on Instagram and Snapchat at Previte. That's SPREVITE. I'm technically verified on both platforms, but not nearly as active as I am on Twitter. Instagram, I'm not super, super active on. I definitely got to get more into that. I know there's a big fantasy community there, so that's a whole other untapped channel for me to kind of make an ass of myself on. I think that's, and then like, of course, all my written work and everything that I do for Action Network is going to be on actionnetwork.com. So please check that out. We have an app, we have so much stuff. So I think that's pretty much where you can find me. And if that's not enough, I don't know what to tell you. Hopefully there's, you'll get sick of me. So,
right. No. One thing I'll say, if you guys can deal with my tweets, you will love Samantha's tweets. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Business and Brews here on the Rum Boys Fantasy Network. Remember to spike the like, remember to share the content. And guys, cheers to me, cheers to you, all the Rum Boys and girls. What it do? I will see you tomorrow night on Rum Boys After Dark, where we're going to get it probably a little bit ratchet. Yeah.
I love that.
Cheers. Later.